Welcome back in. This is the Jake Asman Show right here, Sports Map Radio. The UFC is in town, UFC 262, and look who it is, the president of the UFC in studio, Dana White, joining us now here on the show. Dana, appreciate the time. Thanks for coming in, and how you doing, man?
Thanks for having me. I'm awesome.
How exciting is this for you? I mean, you're going back on the road, but you got sold-out crowds. Again, it feels like we're getting back to what the UFC and what sports was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I love it. I've said from the first day that I'd be first to come back. I'd be first to come back with crowds. We just did Jacksonville, which was unbelievable, and now here we are in Houston. So Houston's one of my favorite cities, so I love this place, so it's good to be back.
What is the process for selecting cities previously before COVID, and then now with different states having all sorts of regulations and whatnot? How do you decide which cities to bring events to?
Yeah, previously, before COVID, obviously we traveled this thing all over the world, and we would go to a place that we haven't been to in a while. Obviously, fights that were on that card had to make sense in that market. Now, I'm going anywhere where I can fill an arena 100%.
Houston, you could fill an arena.
Exactly.
I'm trying to get tickets to this thing, and I go on in 10 minutes. It's already sold out. Has there ever been more of a demand for the sport right now?
So Jacksonville, we sold out and broke the arena record. We broke the arena record here in Houston, which we held already ourselves. We just went on sale in Glendale today, sold out and broke the arena record, and Vegas.
Unbelievable. So, one of the things that I really admire about you, Dana, is that you're not afraid to take criticism. You're not afraid to maybe do something that others are going to find polarizing, or other people are going to find ways to nitpick and whatnot. At the very beginning of the pandemic, the UFC was at the forefront of coming back and trying to do it safely. And I just felt like you got maybe unfairly attacked for trying to bring the sport back, but because of people like you, I seriously believe other sports, once the UFC maybe took the bullets early, they felt comfortable coming back as well. Do you get a sense that you guys leading the way maybe impacted other sports feeling comfortable to come back as well?
I agree with you 100%. And yes, you're telling me the PGA couldn't go? These guys are on a golf course, outside. You talk about social distancing. Nobody wanted to take the heat. And, some of these newspapers like the New York Times, the LA Times, and CNN.
Your favorites.
Just hammering anybody who, would even try to figure out a way to go back to normal. So I don't care about that stuff. I could care less what they say. So I guess that's what made me the guy to do it.
How exciting is this for you? All the obstacles you guys had to overcome over the last year, knowing that maybe you got through the worst you'll ever have to deal with running the UFC, that better times should be ahead, right?
Yeah, it's kind of sick and twisted to say, but it was fun. I actually enjoyed it. I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. This was challenging. It was exciting. It was different. I had fun last year, and we killed it, and we're having the best year we've ever had already now in 21.
Athletes that have come on my show in the past, during this pandemic era of sports, when they played without a crowd, they said it was the weirdest thing they ever had to experience. I feel like UFC in particular, it was some of the weirdest things we've ever watched as a viewer. The fighters could hear, Rogan and the other announcers. You could hear, the feedback from the coaches. What was it like? You're there at all these events. What was it like when there were no fans throughout this pandemic?
Yeah, it was cool and unique. It was different. When you have two of the best fighters in the world fighting for a world championship in an arena with nobody in it. You could hear every kick, every punch, shit talking. You could hear everything. So it was different. It was fun. But, we did that for over a year now. There was nothing like Jacksonville 2 weeks ago with a sold-out house, and I expect tomorrow night here in Houston to be insanity.
Do you have, I know you've always appreciated the fans, but do you have even more of an appreciation for what they bring to an event?
100%. It's and if you're a professional athlete, your whole life you've trained and sacrificed and worked so hard that you want to walk out of that tunnel with 20,000 people going crazy to watch you perform.
Dana White with us here on the Jake Asman Show, talking about UFC 262, Oliveira versus Chandler. This is a fight, Dana, that I think, if you're a diehard UFC fan, you probably know a lot about these fighters. For people maybe still getting into the sport, picked it up during the pandemic, because you guys, of course, as we mentioned, kind of led the way. A lot of new people have gravitated towards the UFC. Why is this card special? What are you really excited about?
Yeah, obviously, first of all, to be the second card back, packed here in Houston is exciting, but much like Jacksonville, we put on a good card. The fans were back. The fighters came in and delivered that night. It was one of the most incredible nights of my career. And this card is the same. This card is stacked with great fights. If you look at the line, the odds on these fights, they're very close. I think the highest odds on a fighter are like 2-1 on a couple of the fights. And guess what? The ones who are plus 200, one of them will end up winning the fight, So exciting, great fights, full crowd back in Houston. And I think the way that tickets have sold and the way that this has gone, it's people saying they've had enough. They're ready to get out and have fun.
Tony Ferguson at the press conference earlier in the week said that Michael Chandler has Dana White privilege.
Yeah.
What is Dana White privilege?
I don't know. That's the first I've heard of it. It's hilarious. And
can I have some Dana White privilege? I feel like I have it if you're coming on the show for the second time here in studio, but I don't know what it is.
You always have these fighters who feel, the company's against me. They want me to lose. They don't like me. They're all paranoid like that. And I think these guys see Michael Chandler as a guy, I mean, even if you look at Oliveira, guy's been in the UFC for 11 years, he's finally getting a title shot. Chandler's getting it this quick. Just everything in life is about timing, and timing has definitely worked out for Michael Chandler.
So, Dana White privilege, is it a real thing? Is it not a real thing?
No. I don't think it's a real thing, but I think that fighters think that it's a real thing. I think that they think that I have my favorites, and I'm assuming they think that Michael Chandler is one of my new favorites.
Is it ever difficult to not let maybe your personal feelings about a particular fighter or things maybe they have said about you publicly or to the media, impact you when you're trying to negotiate and make the best fights for the fans?
Yeah, no. Listen, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that stuff I could care less now. I mean, all that stuff. Most of it I don't even hear. Unless somebody tells me, I don't hear most of it because I don't read anything. I don't listen, read anything that's written. Everything you read is bullshit. It's all bullshit, everything. And some of the things that they'll say that the fighters say, I don't 100% believe that either. So many things get taken out of context. So I don't read or look at any of that stuff. So unless somebody shows it to me or I hear other people talking about it, I don't know about it anyway. Well, and I ain't going to lie. I'm going to say that there are guys. Listen, every time Tito Ortiz fought, I was hoping he would get his ass kicked. Tito and I had a very public.
It was a pretty good 30 for 30 about that.
Yeah. We did not like each other, and so most of the time when he fought, but there aren't any kids out there right now fighting that I don't like that.
When you look at a guy like Jon Jones, you guys have had a lot that's come out publicly back and forth. I guess that to me would be an example of how do you manage the relationship with him? He's one of your greatest fighters ever, if not maybe the greatest fighter of all time. But you guys are in the midst of a public spat over money. How do you balance maybe your personal feelings towards Jon with trying to find a resolution so we can see him back in the octagon?
Yeah, so the Jon Jones thing, it's like people will say Jon Jones is the GOAT. No, it's Anderson Silva, it's GSP, it's Habib. I say it all the time. No matter what's going on with me and Jon, Jon Jones is the best ever. There are guys like Usman nipping at the heels. Obviously, Habib was too before he retired. But Jon Jones is under contract. He has a contract. We have tried to work with him and see if there's things we can do to make him want to fight at heavyweight. But if he doesn't want to fight at heavyweight, he doesn't want to at the end of the day. What are you going to do? You can't make the guy fight. And the reality is Derek Lewis is really the number one contender for the heavyweight championship right now. So it doesn't matter if Jon Jones fights or doesn't want to fight.
So what do you do with the heavyweight division? Obviously, Stipe looks like he's still in shape. It looks like he's motivated to get back. And, of course, Francis is beloved here in Houston and by all fight fans. What is the future of that division?
Well, Jon Jones made it very clear that he has no interest in fighting Stipe. So, it doesn't really matter. What you do is you do the fight with Derek Lewis and Francis, and then Stipe gets the winner.
Dana White with us here. As far as your career with the UFC, I mean, you're 51 years old. You're not old by any means, but you've been doing this for such a long time. Have you thought about how much longer you want to continue to do all you do? I mean, you don't need to be in every city where all the pay-per-views are, but you make time. You're doing all these shows. You're willing to come in studio with us and a bunch of other people here in the city, which is incredible. Have you thought about your future and how long you want to continue to run the UFC?
I love this sport. I love this company. I love all the people that I'm working with every day. I can't imagine doing anything else. And, I know for guys like you that are young and starting out in the business, you guys are all like, oh, when you talk about retirement. But as you really start getting closer to retirement, there's only so many trips you can go on. There's only so many cars you can buy. There's all that stuff. It's fun, especially in the beginning. But I've done it all and seen it all, and I've bought everything that I wanted to buy. I love what I do. This is what I love to do, so I couldn't imagine not doing it.
What would Dana White be doing if he wasn't running the UFC?
Probably going crazy. I don't know what the hell I'd do. I don't know what I'd do if every day I have a routine. I get up in the morning, I go to the office, I work out, shower, and start my day. And I love growing the sport. I love growing this brand. I love finding new up-and-coming talent. And, I don't want to do anything else. I like to play a lot of blackjack. I'm a degenerate. I like to play blackjack. I do that as much as I possibly can.
No blackjack here in Texas.
No, none here.
It's unbelievable.
I'm on hiatus right now until I get back to Vegas. And they just dropped the mask mandate in Vegas, so it'll be nice to play some cards with no mask on.
Just in time for what could be the event of the summer with Conor McGregor once again fighting here in the United States against Dustin Poirier. I mean, you look at that fight. Obviously, it's the trilogy fight. What are your early thoughts on it, months out, as both fighters get ready for this trilogy match?
Yeah, obviously with Vegas bouncing back like this with no masks and things like that, Vegas is going to. First of all, Vegas is booming now. I mean, it's crazy there right now.
Does it feel normal or
yeah,
close to normal?
It feels very normal there. Other than the masks, it feels normal. Now that the masks are gone, it's going to be awesome. So I'm imagining by the time the Conor fight happens, Vegas is just going to be that same night. Garth Brooks. We sold out T-Mobile. Garth Brooks sold out Raider Stadium. So, town's going to be rock. Oh, and friggin' Rogan and Chappelle sold out the MGM on Friday night the night before. So
Joe's double dipping. He's going to do some comedy and then come over and call some fights.
He's been doing that for years. That's what he does, yeah. He sells out venues on Friday and then does the UFC on Saturday. So, it's going to be a badass weekend.
With Joe in particular, I'm always curious, like from your standpoint, obviously you're at the fight, you're not listening to the commentary, but you go back, the reaction that the broadcast booth gets, and obviously how much Joe has meant to the sport over the years. What's your guys' relationship like, and how has it evolved over the years through the course of the sport?
Yeah, no, we have a great relationship. Obviously, the UFC has blown up and grown, since we started together, and he has blown up and grown personally since we started together. But we couldn't have a better relationship, He does his thing, and he kills it for us. And, I think he's the best ever.
In podcasting, in commentary, in all the above comedy?
I mean, obviously, if you look at the other parts of his life, podcasting and comedy, but I'm talking about what he does for us. I think he's the best ever, and you could argue he's the best ever on those too.
Do you enjoy when you see the reaction videos of the guys just going nuts when a big knockout happens? What I love about that broadcast booth, just looking at it, from my perspective is, when you listen to a baseball broadcast, basketball broadcast, obviously there's the play-by-play, makes the call, color commentary guy comes in, gives the breakdown. But in the UFC broadcast, it's like it's the reaction those guys have is what you on your couch have when you're watching the main event. How they react is how we're all reacting watching it, and I think that's just different than any other sport that you have with yours.
So true. I agree with you. You can tell. I mean, whether it's Rogan or the other guys, they're not just talking heads that are being paid. These guys love what they're doing. They're passionate about the sport, and it comes through. Not only when they talk about it, but obviously when exciting things happen.
Dana White with us here. Finally, Dana, just kind of looking ahead, big picture. You always talk about how wait until you see what we do this year. All right, well, you're here in studio. I haven't seen you in person in over a year. You're our first in-studio guest since COVID, got underway and hopefully is ending. What's in store now for the UFC going forward?
Literally just told a guy yesterday, wait till you see what we do in the next 2 years. And I do. I say that every year, and every year we have elevated the sport. We just went public, so we're working on next level stuff right now. And the next, I don't know. I have to fly out to Fight Island here in the next couple of weeks, and I got some stuff going on out there. But once I get back, I'll be able to open up and tell people what we're doing. But yeah, we're doing some big stuff over the next couple of years.
Big things are coming.
Big things are coming.
Thanks for watching the full YouTube video. If you like what you saw, then please subscribe to my page for more content. Thank you.